Welcome, Algebra 1 students. We are in Lesson 43, and we're going to talk about least common multiples. You probably remember having to find least common multiples in pre-algebra. We're going to go through it again anyway. Let's say I gave you the numbers 4, 5, and 8 and asked you to find the least or the smallest number that is evenly divisible by all of these numbers. Well, the easiest thing to do would be to multiply them against each other, and yes, that would be a multiple. In this case, that would be 160. But there is a smaller number that is evenly divisible by all of these. So how do we find that number without making a list of multiples and then looking to see what we have? There's a way you can do it mathematically. So the first thing you want to do is factor completely, and that means prime factorization of each one of these numbers. This is 5 times 1. And then with 8, we have 2 times 2 times 2. And then you want to rewrite that using exponents. So this would be 2 squared because there's 2 2's. This would just be 5 times 1 if you want to. This is not necessary. We'll drop that because anything times 1 is not changed or affected. It remains itself, which is called the identity property. So we don't need the 1. In fact, I'm just going to go ahead and erase it because it's unnecessary. And then we have 3 2's. So that's 2 cubed. So what you want to do now is look at each individual base or factor, and you want to select the highest exponent of that factor. So in this case, 2 cubed is more than 2 squared, so we eliminate that one. And then we have a 5. So 2 cubed times 5 is going to be our least common multiple. And this would be, we know 1, 2, 3, that's 8 times 5, that would be 40. As you can see, 40 is much smaller than 160. And let's check it and make sure it's divisible. 40 divided by 4 is 10. Okay, so it's evenly divisible there. That one was kind of a gimme. 40 is evenly divisible by, 5. That's 8. And 40 is evenly divisible by 8, which is 5. So as you can see, there is a shortcut method to finding the least common multiple besides just writing out the multiples of each number. So let's try that with some bigger numbers, some numbers that might not at first glance be obvious. So let's start with 43.1. We have 8, 15, and 100. So we already know the factors of 8 are 2 times 2 times 2. We know the factors of 15 are 3 times 5. And we know the factors of 10 are 2 times 50, which is 2 times 25, which is 5 times 5. So let's look at all of these factors. We know this is going to be 2 cubed. This remains 3 times 5, both with a 1 exponent. This is 2 squared times 5 squared. All right, so let's look at our biggest exponents for each base. So as far as the 2's are concerned, 3, the exponent of 3 is bigger than the exponent of 2. So we eliminate that one, and we use this one. We only have 1 3, so we use it. And then we see that the exponent of 5 squared is bigger than the exponent of 5 to the 1. So we cancel that one, and we use 5 squared. And so that is how we would calculate the least common multiple. So this would be 8 times 3 times 25, which would give us a least common multiple of 600. All right. So let's look. That was 43.1. Let's look at 43.2. See what we can find. All right, we have, we want to find the least common multiple, which is often referred to as the LCM. We want to find the LCM, or the least common multiple, of 30, 75, and 80. So let's factor these out completely. And I always start with the smallest factor, the smallest prime factor that I can start with. If it's an even number, I start with the number 2. So we know that 30 is 2 times 15, and 15 is 3 times 5. Okay? And those are all used once, so we can just write that here. And I like, even if it's a 1, I like to write it just so I don't have to think about it. It's an obvious answer. All right, 75 is not divisible by 2. It's not an even number, but it is divisible by 3. We know it's 3 times 25, because 3/4 is 75 cents, right? And we know that 25 is 5 times 5. So right away, we have 3 to the 1 times 5 to the 2. Okay, and 80 we know is 2 times 40. 40 is 2 times 20. 20 is 2 times 10. And 10 is 2 times 5. So that gives us 1, 2, 3, 4 2s and 5 to the 1. All right, so I already see that 2 to the 4 is greater than 2 to the 1. We already have a 3 to the 1 here, so we can eliminate this one. We have a 5 to the 1 and a 5 to the 1, which are both less than 5 squared. So these are the factors that we're going to use. 3 times 5 squared times 2 to the 4. And so we are going to do that calculation. If you want to, you could plug it in your calculator like this. It'll be a little bit easier than trying to use the exponent on your calculator. I'm going to pull up my calculator right quick. All right, so what I would do is I'd say 3 times 5 times 5 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Yes, that's 4 2s. So it'd be 1200. 1200 is the least common multiple of these numbers. All right, let's do 43.3. I think we have room for it right here. We're looking for the LCM of, oh, these are some big numbers. 560, 588. We might need a calculator for this one. And 1250. All right, so first let's pull up our calculator and use that to help us find these factors. So 560 divided by 2 is 280. So that's 2 times 280. 280 is 2 times 140. 140 is 2 times 70. 70 is 2 times 35, and 35 is 7 times 5. All right, let's do the same thing again. I need a little help with that bigger number. I think it's 294. Let's check it and see. 588 divided by 2 is 294. I was right. So 2 times 294. 294 divided by 2 is 147. So 2 times 147. Let's see if it's divisible by something. All right, 147. Let's try 3 divided by 3. Oh, yes. So 147 is 3 times 49. Oh, wait. 49 is 7 times 7. All right, so that's all of that. All right, 1250, that's going to be 2 times 625. Let's see. Clear. 6, let's make sure I'm right. 1250 divided by 2 is 625. 625, that has a 5 on the end, so let's divide that by 5. That's 125. So 5 times 125. 125 is 5 times 25. And 25 is 5 times 5. So let's see what our exponents equal. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 2's times 1 7 times 1 5. All right, here we have 2 2's times 1 3 times 2 7's. And here we have 1 2 times 4 5's. Okay, so I see that this 2, the biggest exponent, is 4, so I can eliminate these. And I see that the only exponent for 3 is this 3 to the 1. I see that 7 has a 1 and a 2, and the 2 is bigger, so we eliminate the 1. And 5 to the 4 is bigger than 5 to the 1, so we get rid of that. So now we have all of our exponents. It's 2 to the 4, 3, 7 squared, and 5 to the 4. So that would be 2 times, actually, I think it would be easier if we just pull up our calculator and did the exponent. You should know how to use your exponent on your calculator anyway. Right, so 2 with an exponent of 4 equals 16. So that's 16 times 3 times 7 times 7 is 49. Right? And let's do 5 with an exponent of 4. That's 625. So let's find out what that equals. We have 16 times 3 times 49 times 625 equals 1,470,000. And that is our least common multiple for these three numbers. What's fun is to just pick some random numbers on your own and practice seeing if you can find the least common multiple of those numbers. I challenge you to do some least common multiple finding of your very own, and if you do, you can bring it in for bonus points. So let's see what you got. So let's talk about, we're still going to talk about least common multiples, but we're going to talk about least common multiples within algebraic phrases. Yes, we are going to find the least common multiple of variables. Sounds kind of interesting, doesn't it? It's actually the same exact thing that you're doing with factors, because we know that variables next to a constant are factors. So for instance, if we were looking for, this is 43.4, if we were looking for the least common multiple of these two numbers, let's do 15a squared and b, and the other number is 10ab cubed. The first thing we're going to do is factor these out. So we'll take this first one, 15a squared b, and we're going to factor it. So 15 is 3 times 5. And a squared, we have a times a, and then we have a b, right? So that literally means we have a 3 to the 1, a 5 to the 1, an a squared, and a b to the 1. Now we're going to look at 10ab cubed. 10 is 2 times 5 times a times b times b times b. So that's going to be 2 to the 1 times 5 to the 1 times a to the 1 times b cubed. So now we're going to select each base that is used the most. So we only have 1 3, so we use that. We have a 2 to the 1, so we use that. We have a 5 to the 1 and the 5 to 1, so this one cancels out that one. So we have a 5. We have an a squared and an a1. A squared is more. We have a b to the 1 and a b to the 3. b3 is more. So we select it. Now we just multiply these against each other. 3 times 2 is 6 times 5, that's 30. And then we have an a squared b cubed. That is your least common multiple for these two numbers. So you see how we did that. Now, on 43.5, we're not going to break down our variables because they already have the exponent on them. It's not like your constants where you have to separate them. So let's try that on 43.5. We want to find the LCM of 4x squared m and 6x cubed m. Right, so let's factor them. We have 4x squared m, and the factors of that are 2 times 2 times x squared times m, and then we have this 6x cubed m. The factors are 2 times 3 times x cubed times m. So our exponents are, we have two 2's here, and then we have an x squared, and we have an m to the 1. And then here we have a 2 to the 1 and a 3 to the 1, an x cubed, and an m to the 1. So let's see which ones we're going to use. 2 squared is bigger than 2 to the 1, so we cross that one out. We write 2 squared. There is only one 3, so we use it. X cubed is bigger than x squared, so we use x cubed. And we have the same exponent for m, so we cross one of those out and just use one of the m's. So now we can multiply. 2 times 2 is 4, times 3 is 12, x cubed m. And that is our least common multiple for these two numbers. All right, we have one more, 43.6. It's our last one. We're going to find the least common multiple for 12x squared am squared and 14x cubed am to the 4th. Right, so what I would like for you to do is to pause the video and to find the least common multiple for these two on your own. Then press play and see if you got the correct answer. So go ahead and pause the video and I will wait for you. All right, so I'm not completely finished, but I wanted to come back and show you my summary of the factors. And let's get to that point. So 2 squared is bigger than 2 to the 1. So you should have gotten 2 squared times 3 times 7, because those are both used once. Times, oh, I'm sorry, this should have been x to the 3. Maybe my pen didn't do right. Times x to the 3, because this one is smaller, times a, doesn't matter which one we cross out because they're the same, times m to the 4, because m to the 2 is smaller. So that gives us 4 times 3, which is 12. 12 times 7 is 84. X cubed am to the 4th. And that should be what you have on your paper. If you don't have that, go back and look and see what you did. See how you factored it. Maybe you just made a little mistake where you wrote the exponent down wrong. Sometimes that happens. All right, so that is all we have for lesson 43, and I will see you in lesson 44.